My father transferred $14,000 in pocket money to me across 6 years. Yet my mother took every cent and concealed my details until the facts compelled her to return it in humiliation. The eating area was strangely silent that Tuesday night. The sole noises were the soft tinkling of cutlery on our azure pottery dishes and the far-off buzz of the washing machine completing its run. Mother had prepared her renowned beef stew, the kind that typically infused the home with coziness and ease. However, this evening, even that well-known aroma failed to dispel the odd strain I'd sensed throughout the week. Father coughed lightly and placed his utensil aside, as he invariably did before delivering significant news. I prepared for yet another talk on university submissions or my academic performance, but he posed an entirely unforeseen query instead. "Sarah, is your pocket money sufficient lately? I'm aware that university forms require funds, along with charges for exam preparation and such." The piece of vegetables I'd been munching abruptly tasted like paper in my throat. I gulped down forcefully and gazed at him in real bewilderment. "What pocket money?" The response was swift and alarming. Father's arm halted midway to his lips, grasping a chunk of meat that would remain uneaten. His gaze widened, and briefly he appeared as if informed the heavens were violet. Mother's response was far more intense. Her utensil rattled onto her dish so noisily it caused me to startle. She gazed at me with a look I'd never witnessed prior, combining astonishment, alarm, and an element I couldn't pinpoint. "What do you mean, what pocket money?" Her tone emerged as scarcely a murmur, yet it held a sharpness that tightened my gut. I glanced between my folks, sensing I'd uttered something incorrect without grasping what the correct words might have been. "I mean, I've never received pocket money. I'm unaware of what you're referring to." The quiet that ensued lingered eternally. I could detect the antique timepiece in the lounge chiming, noting each awkward moment. Beyond, Mrs. Patterson's canine was yelping at an object, but within our eating space, no one stirred. Father gradually set his utensil on his dish. The hue had vanished from his complexion, rendering him ashen and perplexed. "Sarah, dear, I've been providing you $200 monthly since your 12th birthday. It deducts from my bank profile routinely on the 15th. My pulse accelerated. $200 monthly for 6 years? That amounted to. I attempted the calculation mentally, but the figures appeared unreal. More than $14,000. Father, I assure you, I've never encountered that cash. I'd certainly recall obtaining $200 each month. I retrieved my device, digits quivering mildly as I accessed my financial application. "See, this is my profile. The sole inflows are my earnings from Miller's store." I rotated the device for both parents to view the display. There it was, my meager bank balance of $347, with additions bi-weekly from my temporary role at the supermarket. No enigmatic $200 additions present. Mother rose so suddenly that her seat grated on the wooden surface with a noise resembling claws on slate. "This is absurd," she declared, but her speech wavered. "Naturally, you receive your pocket money. We deposit it straight into your profile monthly." "What profile?" I inquired once more, displaying my device. "This is my sole profile, and no pocket money exists there." Father was already retreating from the table, his expression stern with resolve. "I'll retrieve the financial records immediately. There must be an error." As he proceeded to his study, I met Mother's gaze over the table. She remained upright, clutching her seat's rear so firmly her joints paled. There was an aspect in her demeanor I'd never observed, a sort of frantic dread that constricted my torso with worry. "Mother, what's happening?" I questioned gently. She collapsed back into her seat ponderously, as if her limbs couldn't sustain her. "I'm certain it's merely a financial glitch," she stated, but she avoided my gaze. Rather, she began tampering with her cloth, creasing it into tinier squares, then uncreasing it, and repeating. The decade of minutes Father was absent seemed like a decade of hours. I attempted to consume additional supper, but all flavored like ash. Mother hadn't contacted her meal since Father departed. She merely persisted in creasing and uncreasing that cloth, fixating on it as if it contained solutions to existence's profound enigmas. Upon hearing Father's steps returning along the corridor, my belly sank. An element in the weightiness of his stride indicated this wouldn't be positive information. He emerged in the entrance grasping a bulky pile of documents, his countenance etched in patterns I'd seldom witnessed. Silently, he returned to the table and began shifting our dishes, creating space for the files. "Here it is," he announced, his tone level and weary. $200 moved on the 15th monthly for the last 6 years. He distributed the financial records over our supper surface like presenting proof in a legal proceeding. Each month, consistently, I bent forward to examine the documents, heart thumping so intensely I believed my parents could perceive it. There they existed, numerous transfers, all tagged Sarah pocket money. The sums matched father's description, $200 monthly, extending backward years. But an issue existed. Father, I remarked, indicating the profile digits at each transfer's base. This isn't my profile digits. He observed my indication, then my device screen displaying the financial app, then returned to the documents. I observed the hue fade from his complexion entirely. Then whose profile is this? He queried, his tone scarcely audible. The inquiry lingered among us like a tangible entity. I sensed breathing difficulties. If the funds weren't reaching me, and not some arbitrary individual, then where had $14,000 vanished over 6 years? I gazed at Mother, wishing she possessed an account, a sensible response that would clarify everything. But she fixated on the financial records with a demeanor resembling remorse. "Mother," I uttered, "do you understand this?" She parted her lips as if to talk, then sealed them. Her palms quivered now, and the cloth she'd creased was utterly torn. There must be a rational account, Father stated, but he lacked conviction. "I'll contact the financial institution first thing tomorrow. This must be a type of mistake." Yet as he expressed it, I perceived in his gaze he began doubting it wasn't a mistake whatsoever. We remained in awful quiet for the remainder of supper, although none consumed substantially. The beef stew that had scented so appealing 60 minutes prior now appeared chilled and undesirable. Periodically, Father would grasp a financial record and fixate on it, as if expecting the profile digits to alter magically to align with mine. Mother departed prematurely, asserting a migraine. As she exited the eating area, she halted in the entrance and glanced back with a demeanor I couldn't interpret. "I'm certain all will clarify tomorrow," she expressed, but her tone rang empty. Following her departure, Father and I remained at the table encircled by proof of 6 years of enigmatic movements. The figures on the sheets appeared to taunt us, posing queries neither was prepared to resolve. "Father," I stated eventually, "what if it's not an error?" He glanced up from the documents, and I noticed an element in his gaze that frightened me, the onset of skepticism regarding someone he'd relied on utterly for 2 decades. "Let's await what the financial institution states tomorrow," he remarked, but his tone was laden with identical fear burgeoning in my torso. That evening, I remained alert, gazing at the roof, my thoughts swirling with options. Where had my pocket money directed for 6 years? Who possessed capability to establish a profile not mine? And why did Mother appear so terrified upon discovery? The resolutions I started suspecting would alter all. The following dawn, I awoke to Father's voice resounding from the cooking area. Even from above, I detected the irritation in his inflection as he conversed with someone via call. I verified my timepiece, 7:30 a.m. He must have contacted the financial institution the instant they commenced. I donned my gown and descended quietly, tracing his escalating, perturbed voice. Mother stood at the cooking counter, yet in her nightwear, grasping a beverage cup as if it were salvation. She appeared sleepless. Shadows ringed her eyes, and her typically immaculate locks were tousled. "No, I require speaking to an individual who can inform me regarding this profile," Father was stating into the device. "I've been redirected 4 instances already." "Yes, I'll wait once more, but this is preposterous." He spotted me in the entrance and offered a fatigued grin that failed to touch his gaze. The device was against his ear, and I could detect the faint melody of waiting tunes. "How long have you been calling?" I queried. "Since 7, he replied. "I've conversed with 3 distinct individuals, and they continue redirecting me to another. Evidently, the profile details are limited and necessitate an overseer." Mother pivoted at my voice's sound, and I was stunned by her pallor. Her palms trembled mildly as she elevated the beverage cup to her mouth. "Morning, dear," she stated, but her tone sounded forced and unnatural. "Did you rest well?" Before I could respond, Father's focus returned to the device. "Yes, I'm still present. Patricia, appreciate you accepting my call. I require details on profile movements exiting my bank profile for the previous 6 years." I approached nearer, attempting to perceive both conversation sides. Father had activated speaker unknowingly, and Patricia's expert tone permeated our cooking space. "I can observe the movements you mentioned, Mr. Bell. They're directing to a profile under Sarah Morrison Chen. Is that your child?" The beverage cup escaped Mother's grasp and shattered on the cooking floor, dispatching pottery fragments and warm beverage all over. But she didn't shift to tidy it. She merely stood, fixating on the chaos at her feet as if viewing something different. "Could you restate that name?" Father requested, his tone very deliberate and managed. "Sarah Morrison Chen," Patricia articulated distinctly. "The profile was established in 2018, and it's received monthly movements from yours since." I sensed the ground had vanished beneath me. "But that's not my identity," I declared, sufficiently loud for Patricia to detect via the device. "My identity is Sarah Morrison Bell." There was a break on the lines opposite. "Is this Sarah?" Patricia inquired. "Yes, but my surname is Bell, not Chen. I've never known of a profile under Chen." "That's peculiar," Patricia remarked. "Mr. Bell, do you possess relatives named Chen who could access your child's data?" Father gazed at Mother, who remained immobilized amid the shattered beverage cup fragments. Beverage saturated her footwear, but she seemed oblivious. "No," Father said gradually. "We don't recognize anyone named Chen." He hesitated, then posed the query I saw developing in his gaze. "Patricia, can you inform me who established that profile?" Another break. Per our logs, the profile was initiated by Donna Morrison, utilizing Sarah Morrison Chen's details. She's noted as the profile owner's custodian. The ensuing quiet was overwhelming. Father fixated on Mother with a look of total confusion. I sensed like observing a film where an individual abruptly began using another tongue. "Donna," Father said softly, "what is she discussing?" Mother finally elevated her gaze from the shattered cup. Her complexion was like parchment, and tears flowed down her face. "I can clarify," she murmured. "Then please proceed," Father stated, but his tone had chilled in a manner I'd never encountered. Instead of clarifying, Mother gazed at me with a look of absolute alarm, then at Father, then back at me. "I require fresh air," she declared abruptly. "Mother, hold on," I began, but she was already advancing toward the rear entrance. "Donna, you can't simply depart," Father shouted after her. "We must discuss this." But she had vanished, exiting via the rear entrance and into our yard. Through the cooking window, I could observe her striding swiftly toward the barrier leading to the road, her nightwear vivid against the dawn light.